Tonight on News 5 Live, two Albanians are busted for importing more than $2 million worth of cocaine from Belize into the UK. The PSU calls a special meeting in respect of government's threat to amend the public service regulations if the union rejects proposal to reduce salaries and increments to teachers and public officers. A Mexican vessel runs aground near Ambergris Key. A teenage boy believed to have brutally killed 54-year-old Mateus Alpuche has been arrested by Orange Walk police. In the West, Benque residents say that wildfires are wiping out crops and other farming investment. And the Belize City Council donates $9,000 worth of reusable masks to the police department. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Smart.
evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, May 6th. I am Marlene Cuellar. There's not been any reported drug plane landings since the start of the COVID-19 crisis. In fact, the last drug plane landed on the coastal road on February 27, 2020. But it does not mean that the movement of drugs has ceased. Narcos are always looking for new ways to export the drugs. According to a report on the UK's National Crime Agency, 2 men were busted on the discovery of a refrigerated container loaded with 16 kilos of cocaine. It is not known when the cocaine was exported, but it arrived at port there from Belize last Friday, May 1st. The 2 men are from Albania, 20-year-old Mariglen Bajraktari and 23-year-old Romario Vuxaj. The duo was charged with the possession and importation of a Class A drug. The 2 appeared in the magistrate court today and are on remand until June 3rd, when they're scheduled to reappear in court. The 2 men were arrested when they broke into the London Container Terminal in Tilbury to retrieve the packages of drugs. The National Crime Agency was called on Tuesday when alert port workers reported that the men were acting suspiciously. The drugs are said to have a street value of more than £1 million, which is about 2.48 million Belize dollars. The government is in a serious financial pickle due to the economic crisis that has befallen the country in its fight against COVID-19. The wage bill accounts for one of government's biggest expenditures, so the Ministry of Finance is proposing cutting the proposed increments and allowances for teachers and public officers. Public officers and teachers are being asked to do without increments and allowances during this period of financial difficulty. In a letter written today to Gerald Henry, President of the Public Service Union, Financial Secretary Joseph Waite, in conveying the position of Prime Minister Dean Barrow, threatened the union. He says, quote, "If the PSU still rejects the proposals, please be informed that the minister intends to proceed as follows. He will seek, after hearing from you, to advise His Excellency the Governor-General to amend the public service regulations so as to give the minister the power to alter salaries, emoluments, and increments in order to deal with the current unprecedented situation." Unquote. The executive of the PSU is convening an emergency meeting tonight, during which it will formulate a position ahead of responding to the FinSec's letter. News 5 spoke with Henry via phone earlier today.
The initial reaction was, of course, that I needed to see exactly what the membership of the Public Service Union wants the union to do with it expected us on their behalf. So what we did was to send out immediately the information to our membership and ask them, basically what they intend for the union, how they intend the union to respond. So what we have done is that we have been canvassing our membership, and we have a meeting set for later this evening to discuss and also craft a response to that letter from the FinSec. As it relates to what exactly will be the content of that letter, I am unable to say because we have not been able to find out exactly what all the members have been asking us to do now.
In your letter as the Public Service Union, in response to the Financial Secretary, there is a notion that the position and of course a subsequent decision to be taken by the government, should it reach to that point, reflects one of bad faith in terms of the negotiation process that you guys have been having. Are you at liberty to comment on that?
I would prefer not to at this time and wait until we send out an official release tomorrow. That would more than likely be an update to our official position right now.
The Public Service Union responded to the proposed cuts in a letter to the FinSec on May 4th. Henry voiced its discontent with the turn of events and contends that previous negotiations with government were seemingly not in good faith. According to Henry, public officers are open to making the necessary sacrifices given the present economic situation. However, government needs to be clear and forthcoming on what happens thereafter.
I know that the entire country is in financial straits as a result of COVID-19. Is it your preliminary or your position going into the meeting that the membership of the Public Service Union, the executives as well, would be amenable to government's proposal, notwithstanding the fact that we are in fact in a financial crunch?
Well, my response to that would be that we have always been willing to make the sacrifices, and in fact, as you may notice that in our correspondence to the FinTech, we have said that we are amenable to making sacrifices. Right, so it is just the manner in which perhaps the sacrifices, that after we make those sacrifices, what then would the government do to compensate us after the time has passed? So that I think that is where the crux of the matter probably is, and so that is where our response now will have to be will be guided by the membership as to what they want, what they expect us to do after we make the sacrifices, because we understand that sacrifices have to be made. And we have always been making sacrifices as public officers, right? In fact, we have been the ones on the front line, ever since in every disaster, anything that the country faces, it's always the public officers who are out there. As you may recall, in 1995, we made sacrifices as well for increment freeze for 3 years. So the public service has always sacrificed. We understand that there is a need for the sacrifice to take place, but again, there must be equity and that justification and so on in regards to exactly how you want us to sacrifice and so on. And that is where we need to find that common ground, and we need to get that understanding from the government. And we feel that we are not getting the information that we have requested from them for us to make an educated decision going forward.
The Public Service Union has been given until May 8th to formally respond to the Ministry of Finance. We'll have more on this developing story on Thursday. Just before 1 o'clock today, a Mexican naval vessel ran aground on the reef near San Pedro. Official information is that the vessel was one of 2 registered to the Mexican military that was traveling from Mahahual en route to a Coast Guard base at the Subteniente Lopez station at the border in Quintana Roo, Mexico. So how did the vessel end up atop the reef in Belize? According to Commander Gregory Sabaranes, the vessel was driven off course and crashed onto the reef. Sabaranes also says that both countries have an agreement where the Mexican Coast Guard can transit through Belizean waters to get to their base. The Vice Commandant explains the details of the incident report and what led to the vessel running aground.
Our operations center received a call this afternoon stating that a Mexican naval vessel had run aground on the reef in San Pedro. The vessel was traveling from Mahahual en route to Chetumal. The Mexican Navy has an agreement with the country of Belize where Mexican naval vessels have what is known as innocent passage, where they can transit Belizean waters en route to Chetumal or their station at Subteniente at our northern border. And under this agreement, they must move expeditiously. They cannot stop. It's continuous transit throughout our waters. So that is a standard agreement with Belize and Mexico. It's under international law. What transpired this afternoon was that the lead vessel, which is a safe boat class vessel, while entering the channel, was using the marker buoy as a reference for entering that particular channel, which is the main channel in front of San Pedro town. Unfortunately, the marker buoy had drifted a little bit too much to the right of the channel, and it was sitting right on top of the reef. So the Mexican vessel, which used that marker buoy as a reference point, eventually ended up on the reef itself.
The vessel has since been removed from where it was lodged and departed our waters. The Ministry of the Environment will be conducting an assessment of the incident. Commander Gregory Sobranes says that a final report will be forwarded to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since the vessel has diplomatic status and the matter will be dealt with at a state level.
All relevant stakeholders were informed. The key stakeholder at this juncture would have been the Department of the Environment. Because it is a military vessel and it does have diplomatic status, a report from DOE will be submitted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and it would be dealt with at that particular level. The vessel has been removed from off the reef. DOE will conduct an initial impact assessment and based on those findings, that will be included in the report, which will be forwarded to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it will be dealt with on a state-to-state level. Under these circumstances, what DOE did was that they have, for example, Holchan, which is also another environmental agency, who responded as well to go do an initial assessment of the situation to determine if the vessel can be removed and if any damage would be incurred to the reef if the vessel would have been removed. In this case, that was done with the assistance of the Coast Guard, and it was deemed that the vessel could have been removed in a safe manner without any significant damage to the reef. So the vessel was removed. Even after the vessel was removed, there were no damages to the vessel or to the engines of that particular vessel.
Now, is there any allowances made for a pilot error or a captain's error based on an incorrect reading from the board?
All that will be taken into consideration for the final report. So those are the kind of questions we normally ask. Was it navigational error? Was it pilot error? Was it mechanical failure? So all those questions will be factored into the investigation for the final report.
On Tuesday, proprietor Mark Neal and several of his employees were arrested for being inside Body 2000 gym. They were charged individually when they were unable to provide a reasonable explanation or proof of movement outside of a curfew and are facing fines of $1,000 each. Despite their protest that the facility was shuttered and that they were supposedly inside the building carrying out maintenance work on the exercise equipment, they were all trooped to the Balama police station where they were processed. Neal is represented by attorney Richard Dickey Bradley, who argues that the law is not being enforced fairly since the incident on Saturday, during which police officers shut down a number of stores on Albert Street, did not result in charges being filed against those merchants.
The basic facts of the matter is, as you reported yesterday, and I think he and the workers are grateful for that, that in fact Body 2000, Belize's premier gymnasium, which is a large investment and a huge building, had about 5 persons inside. The metal shutters were down with the padlock holding them in place, and there is a fairly large sign which says that they're closed. And the police were obviously instructed to arrest and charge those persons, clearly, because they would never know that they were even inside. In any event, a reasonable explanation has been offered as to why they were there. The establishment was not open. They were not patrons who were there exercising. Even if one or two are in the full long of the wait, that is not a patron who can exercise. And so the big talking yesterday and today was that when they go on, they know they apply the law fairly. They are being selective in how they apply this law, which has basically, listen, Belize is COVID-19 free. We all know that. Not a soul, no holla, boy, I got trouble for breathe, I have to go to the hospital. Nobody.
According to Bradley, the laws as they stand are lopsided, granting citizens permission to do certain forms of exercise, but denying them from doing others that are seemingly individual, such as cycling.
I understand that in the rule, gymnasiums are closed. Believes only to my, well, I could be corrected, but I only know of the Rajai Stadium, public gym, one other, and Body 2000. Man, why you close gymnasium? Just insist that in fact you keep your 6 feet distance. Why could do that? Then they said people can walk in the morning between 5 and 8. You can even be out jogging with your dog or by yourself or with friends, but keep your distance. But no cycling. That the animal farm business? Why you can't ride a bicycle? No, they change you. You can ride a bicycle, but you can't. You have to keep, and you must have on your mask. Now, if I'm riding a bicycle, who I could infect? You mean another cyclist so fool and come right up in my face and so? When you go banging on Body 2000 and haul out people in there who are not breaking any of the law, and when you go and close down merchants but you don't charge nobody, we're not stupid. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on with that.
A teenage boy who is believed to have brutally killed 54-year-old Matias Alpuche is in custody of Orange Walk police. He was caught on Tuesday morning after investigators launched an operation. The alleged juvenile killer was caught in a car while on the Guinea Grass Road in the Orange Walk district, but it is believed that he's to be from Orange Walk. The minor is accused of stabbing Alpuche several times on Sunday while he operated his taxi on the Honeycamp Road. The motive behind the callous slaying is yet to be determined, and on Monday, Alpuche's estranged wife told News 5 that she doesn't know who would want to attack him and why.
He was here right here at my house.
So he was just eating, hanging out with?
Yeah, he was hanging right here with his granddaughters and his 2 daughters.
He ever come to you and tell you that he had any beef with anybody, any fight or argument with anybody?
No. He didn't tell me nothing. He just came and he said it's too slow for the taxi. And he came and right here and relaxed. Then he sit right over there and he said that he's going.
How long was he running taxi? Was that something recently? Or?
Yes, recently, like Thursday he started. Last week Thursday he started.
Okay. Why would anyone want to?
I really don't know.
The post of chairman of the Social Security Board is now duly filled and by a familiar face. Dr. Colin Young is back at the Social Security Board. Late last year, he stepped down as CEO of the SSB to head the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center in Belmopan. 5 months later, however, Young has been tapped as the new chair of the SSB board to replace Doug Singh, whose spectacular fall from the SSB in April came immediately after a crude interview with a reporter, Aaron Humes, that had surfaced on social media. According to a government release, Young's appointment takes effect today. Young has served as CEO in the Ministries of Agriculture and Energy and on the boards of various organizations both locally and internationally. Coming up, Benque Viejo residents fighting farmland fires. For the past 2 weeks, we have been reporting on a spate of forest fires across Belize. Many of those fires are concentrated in the western part of the country. While the Forest Department has a new law with heavy fines attached that prohibits burning outside, there are still many fires recorded around the country. This week, there were a number of fires off the Hydro Road, some 2 or so miles outside of Arenal. Those fires have been burning through farmlands, destroying crops and buildings that farmers have invested in. A group of Benqueviejo residents are trying to help, but as we found out today, it's no easy task. Here's that story.
75-year-old Benigno Venegas is assessing the damage to his farm today. 2 nights ago, wildfires reached his land. It wiped out most of his crops, other farming investments, and housing material. It's a loss that Vanega couldn't avoid because the fires have been burning all around his property for several days. It's the worst he's seen in the more than 60 years that he's been farming this land.
Pues aquí ha destruido más de 25 acres. Sí. No tuve ayuda para controlarlo. No pude apagarlo. ¿Sí? Entonces lo apagamos, defendimos el rancho, sí.
And that's what this group of Benqueviejo residents has been trying to do to protect the forests and farmlands. But the impacts are trickling into the residential areas, with the smoke creating a haze over the towns just a few miles away. But poor visibility is only a part of it. Residents are also suffering in their homes from the smoke inhalation, making it a health issue as well. And all these factors have pushed these volunteers to take action. Mario Hernandez is the team's leader.
It got sad because I see a lot of smoke. The town is full of smoke. A lot of people have asthma. They can't breathe. And it's very bad because pollution will kill you. Maybe not now, but in the long term, it will affect your lungs. But this is sad because a lot of wildlife and green life is being wiped out completely. So Belize needs to control those fires.
But these volunteers don't have the equipment to tackle these big fires. Just some basic tools like machetes, rakes, and hand pumps, coupled with their bravery and jungle smarts. It's what they've been using to put out fires and create fire breaks in this area for the past 10 days. The fires move slowly on a regular day, but when there's a lot of wind, it catches easily and move swiftly. And dry vegetation and high temperatures increase the duration and incidence of these fires. Hernandez and his team know this firsthand. He says it is a risky job to control these flames.
Fire is running slow, but it's wiping everything that is on its way.
What is it like trying to create a fire pass or trying to put out those flames?
It's something that people might say it's easy making a fire line. It's pretty hard because, like how I say, it's a virgin jungle. People maybe have owned the farm, but they never cleaned the back farm. And it's very dangerous and very risky. You meet flames up to 40, 30 feet high. Trees are burning, and sometimes you ask, God help me. God is our only shield. God is our only instrument. We don't have special equipment. We don't have nothing. All we have is a machete, a rake, and that's it. And God is our protector here.
The thick smoke in the air makes it difficult to breathe, and the heat from the land burning up makes it almost unbearable. Just about every area that is burnt through has hot spots, smoldering stumps, and destroyed vegetation. While the impacts of these fires are yet to be fully quantified, Hernandez says that farmers alone have lost thousands of dollars, as he estimates that some 300 to 400 acres have been ravaged by the flames.
Couple 400 to 350 acres of land have been burned in all the farms together. You can see this bush, this mountain back here, maybe 1/4 of it is alive, 3/4 of it has been burned. Maybe guys own 100 acres, 100 acres gone. Maybe somebody else has 50 acres, and when you count and estimate everything, it's a couple thousands of acres been burned. A lot of pasture have been lost. Guys have lost their plantations. Guys have lost their little houses. Guys have lost fences, everything. It's very sad. Very, very sad.
Hernandez and his team will continue to put out fires and create fire lines in the area. They're looking for volunteers who can assist on the ground and others who can donate equipment and other materials. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The Chiquibol and Vaca forests have also been destroyed by wildfires, but these have decreased significantly. The rains last week doused the huge inferno that destroyed habitats and killed animals. The fires in the Vaca forest and along the western border are believed to have been sparked by Guatemalan farmers slashing and burning in the area. While the wildfires have been contained, they are likely to ignite again since a severe drought is expected. Prevention of the forest fires appears to be an impossible task, but Executive Director for the Friends for Conservation and Development, Rafael Manzanero, says that the best avenue is through education.
I mean, there's a need for a public outreach and environmental educational program that has to be sort of an ongoing program, throughout the years to sensitize the public about what to do in terms of preventing forest fires. I mean, that's key. Also, it is important for the people to be sensitized about the impacts that these things have. I mean, not only on health, on biodiversity, on climate. All of these are really important in terms of a holistic program of public outreach. Now, that's for the context of Belize, like in the case of many areas within the national territory. But for us, we have to build in a binational component, because the source of the problem of forest fires in the Chiquibol and in the Vaca were also derived from the Guatemalan context. Thus, public outreach also has to be across borders. We would be engaging our Guatemalan counterparts. In fact, we already have started to do that. We would hope that there would be a binational task force that could be strengthened. But the application of law is really vital and important. That goes for the national context, but also at a regional context. And so, but public outreach is going to be critical as we see more, longer, dry months.
Also in the West, 10 persons have been fired from the San Ignacio Santa Elena Town Council. Municipal governments across the country are having trouble meeting their monthly expenses and have had to take cost-saving measures. Over the past few months, councils have lost millions of dollars in revenue since the state of emergency regulations took effect. Mayor Earl Trapp told News 5 today that the persons were sent home but are expected to be rehired in the next 4 months when revenues pick up. He says this is part of the council's restructuring exercise promoted by COVID-19.
We have been in the restructuring mode, and basically the idea initially was to lay off at least 20 people. But then when we studied the situation, we realized that it would have been more short-term than long-term. So the people, when I say short-term, it means like 4 months. So within 4 months, I think we'll be needing back these people. So because it's more short than long, what we decided to pay them 50% of their salary until further notice. But I believe it will be more like a short term, 4 months short term. And the people more on a long term basis that we believe we will not be needing them anytime soon, then those are the people that we paid off. And we will be giving them the first option as soon as the time the PS know that we need them. They will be given the first preference indeed.
But as of today, has anyone been fired or laid off?
Yes, for the record, yes. On record, yes, we have laid off some people.
Can you say how many, sir?
If I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere around approximately 10.
10 persons.
Yes. And right. And then we are starting from the revenue department, from which we don't want to really go and dictate anything to the people that are already suffering. You know, it's like a slap in the face. I mean, I don't have a job, I don't have to eat, I don't have to pay my bills, and then you're asking me to pay property tax. You know, on that sentiment, we decided to start from that department, because we know it'll be like trickling in, and people that can afford it will come in on their own. So we don't need to go out house to house and ask people to pay the property tax. We will ask them through the social media and the media.
Since last week, some restrictions have been eased on the countrywide state of emergency, and many businesses, including services provided by the municipal government, have resumed operation. Town and city councils have been closed for almost 6 weeks, and the revenue stream became a slow trickle. Today, we asked Belize City Mayor Bernard Wagner about the coffers at City Hall. He says there is no significant turnaround since the start of the week, so he and his council remain cautiously optimistic going forward.
Last week was our first full week that we came back. We see minor trickling coming in, little more improvement than where we were before. We remain cautiously optimistic. We know that all businesses are still suffering. People are not back on the job. Even the government is feeling the pinch as we speak. And so we don't see any significant turnaround in the short term, but medium term and long term, we would want to see that improve.
Now, before COVID-19, on a monthly basis, the council collected about $300,000 from the head tax received from the tourism industry. But that too disappeared when the industry went into a standstill, contributing to the council's financial crunch. We asked the mayor if the council is able to meet its commitment to holders of the municipal bond. Mayor Wagner says that there will have to be some restructuring of the bond to assume the balance of the previous bond into the council.
They had approved that the subvention be redirected to us. They did it for April. I believe they had promised to do it for May and June, and then we then begin to look at how we go forward. But clearly, the subvention is just a portion to the obligation of the bond. The significant portion was from the head tax. Remember, the subvention is $125,000 per month, and the head tax is in the neighborhood of $300,000 monthly. So that was the bulk of the funds going into the sinking fund at Central Bank to service the previous bond. So clearly that has been compromised, given that there's no tourist ship coming to Belize City. And so we are looking at how we will approach these bondholders from the previous bond going forward, and maybe look at putting that balance of those bonds under our municipal paper, and therefore, when we are able to do that, it will be it will reduce the interest rate, and that will be some discussion, because they are supposed to have interest rate in the neighborhood of 7.5%. Our municipal interest rate is at 3.45% average. So you will require negotiation with those bondholders. Restructuring and putting it under our municipal paper. But what that will do for the council is immediately free up those head tax, those future head tax, and free up the subvention so that those funds start to come into the council. And our municipal paper is structured that we just pay interest and spend it every year. So when we look at the interest obligation for for our existing municipal paper bond and the existing bond, putting it together, we could easily be able to meet those interest payments on an annual basis, and it would free up the subvention to us, it would free up the head tax to us. So those are some of the areas we are looking at, and we'll be going at it very aggressively with those bondholders when we get through this, obviously.
The number of persons who lost their jobs due to COVID-19 is in the thousands, though the exact number is still out there. For sure, close to 83,000 applied for COVID-19 unemployment relief. The Oversight Committee of the Unemployment Relief has approved about 45% of the applicants to date. Here's an update with News 5's Isani Caetano.
A total of 37,696 applicants have received financial assistance through the Social Security Board under government's Unemployment Relief Program. To date, the Employment Oversight Team led by Dr. Carla Barnett and Christopher Koye have approved a little over 40,000 applications. Despite SSB continuing to process payments, thousands of payments have been returned because banks and credit unions are reporting that incorrect banking information was provided by the applicants. While some of the 3,000 payments have been rectified, there are still 2,600 payments that are outstanding due to these errors. On Tuesday, recipients of the COVID-19 unemployment relief were advised to safeguard their top-up cards and personal identification numbers because those cards will be used to receive additional payments during the remainder of the approved unemployment relief period. Likewise, recipients are also encouraged to work with persons calling to rectify banking information in respect of the incorrect forms. A $10 fee has been tacked on to all replacement of these top-up cards. Reporting for News 5, I'm Isani Caetano.
Attorney Audrey Matura finds herself at the end of a very stern letter from the Court of Appeal. Matura is the attorney for Gas Tomza Limited, Southern Choice Butane, Zeta Gas, and Belize Western Energy Limited, the companies which are in a legal war with the government of Belize over the monopoly of the national gas company. Both the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal have ruled against Matura's client, and on April 30th, she wrote them a letter asking for the written ruling. She followed up with another letter, but the response was a reprimand from the court. Matura says that while people might interpret it as the Court of Appeal scolding her, it is standard for attorneys to request for a written ruling.
It is standard for attorneys to want to get a written decision from any court, from the Supreme Court, from the Court of Appeal, from the Caribbean Court of Justice. On the 30th, I wrote a letter to the President of the Court of Appeal just asking for a decision and asking if I could have gotten it by the 4th of May. One of the reasons being is I cannot give my clients advice without knowing the written decision. So then when I didn't get that, I got back a rather terse response, which that letter was not leaked, and I don't intend to leak it myself. To me, it's standard. It's standard that as attorneys, that the court will act so, because they're the ones who have the final say. We are always at the mercy of the court. Then I wrote a letter, the 4th, indicating why I really need the decision. But apart from wanting the decision for my client, at that point, I am also engaging the services of a constitutional lawyer based in Trinidad, a reputable attorney at that too. And he asked the basic thing: has the court given a decision? Can you write and ask for the decision? Because we attorneys have to advise clients based on a decision. So no, I said no. That's why I had written that other letter. And then I got that response. For me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if people see it as a scolding or not. I mean, if you would go to court, you'd be surprised how the judges can carry on when they're ready to. And as an attorney, all you do, you say, much obliged, my lawyer. You humble yourself and you represent your client. So in this case, it's no big deal for me. I humble myself and I will just ask the court to still, at the end of the day, all I want is the written decision. I need a copy of a written decision. And I'm hoping that very soon we'll get one. In terms of whatever comments, so it's neither here or there for me, because Hippolyta, it does not change the fact that whoever for their own agenda released it and want to make it a personal attack against me, they can attack me personally all they want, but they can never attack the information that I talk, the issues of our case, and the fact that this LPG monopoly that is being created is a matter we are challenging in the courts, and there's reason for our challenge.
After the break, can two persons from a household ride together on a motorcycle? The law says yes, but the police have another view.
B&B Beverages is offering home delivery.
Central TV and Internet.
The state of emergency remains in full force throughout the months of May and June. Every week, there is an update from the police on the number of persons who are arrested for curfew violations. But what happens when the police misinterprets the law? In this case, we're talking about persons traveling on motorcycles. Both the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Police agree that two persons from the same household can ride together once they wear masks and, of course, helmets. But as News 5's Hippolyta Novella found out, on the ground, some police officers have not received that memo.
The key word is household. According to the SOE regulations, two persons from the same household are allowed to be on a motorcycle and must be wearing face masks. This was made clear by none other than the Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams, in a Facebook post. The Commissioner said, quote, "Two persons from the same household can ride on a motorcycle. Remember, the key word there is same household and not workplace," unquote. But there is a misinterpretation of that key word. At one checkpoint, an officer admitted that he was not aware what his boss had said. This morning at the checkpoint near the Lurch Ridge Cemetery, an officer had a different interpretation of the word household. The definition of the word is a group of people living under the same roof or in the same dwelling. The officer believes that the word household strictly meant family, as in blood relatives. Not so. A household is a group of people who live together. We have received several complaints from motorists of officers misinterpreting what the Commissioner of Police stated and what the Attorney General Michael Curfew clarified during Ask the Experts on Monday.
We've made an exception for people who ride motorcycles. If you're from the same household and two people are on the motorcycle, with your mask on, you'll be able to do it. But if you're two strangers, you can't ride on the motorcycle. Just your body will live up the street, jump and no, that's not allowed. You can only be two people from the same household.
Again, the operative word is household, a group of people living together. They don't have to be relatives or family, but simply living under the same roof in the same dwelling. Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
As you know by now, there are no active COVID-19 cases in Belize, but 15 are under investigation. Since the pandemic broke, a number of mediations are being touted as the cure for the virus, but have not been approved for use. The African Union has stunned health experts with a report that the regional body is in discussions with the Republic of Madagascar over the efficiency of a herbal remedy for the reported prevention and treatment of COVID-19. In April, Madagascan President André Rajoelina announced that the herbal remedy could prevent and cure the disease. His announcement caught medical experts by surprise. The World Health Organization is advising people against using untested remedies for COVID-19. A statement reads, quote, "Even if therapies are derived from traditional practice and natural, establishing their efficacy and safety through rigorous clinical trials is critical," unquote. Here in Belize, Director of Health Services Dr. Marvin Manzanero and his team are monitoring all developments around the world with caution.
We saw the report, but I think we also would need to look at what other measures Madagascar had put in place. If you go back and review the literature, you will find out that they were one of the last countries to have had any case. And they're in an island, they had their own measures that they put in place, kind of like the measures we put in place. So whenever you're reviewing measures that you put in place, you always have to put it in light of other contexts. Granted, they have this whatever it is that they're calling it, that warrants to be reviewed, just like you have studies that suggest that BCG vaccines, the ones we use for tuberculosis, might have an effect. Some states in the US now saying that they want to launch a study to see if it has any protective effect in the community. Again, COVID-19 is an evolving disease. You live and learn every single day, so that's something we are following, yes, as we are following measures as they come about.
When we come back, $9,000 worth of masks are gifted from the Belize City Council to the police department. Police officers are on the front line of the COVID-19 fight, enforcing the regulations of the state of emergency. You see them stopping vehicles and making sure that the law is adhered to, or you see them ensuring that business establishments and individuals are complying with the curfew. The face masks are now part of their uniform as they carry out their critical duties in public. So today, the Belize City Mayor made a significant donation of masks for the use of the Eastern Division of the Police Department. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Approximately $9,000 worth of face masks were gifted today by the Belize City Council to the Eastern Division of the Belize Police Department. It translates to over 1,600 reusable masks that will be issued to the police officers who are also on the front line of the COVID-19 situation in Belize. Mayor Bernard Wagner says that the pandemic has shifted the country's perspective and the police have been identified as one of the heroes in keeping the citizenry safe.
Recently, the Attorney General announced that the use of face masks in public has become mandatory. Therefore, through collaboration with various business partners, we are pleased to present today these masks to 18 police precincts across the district and the country of Belize. It's over 1,600 masks. 180 masks will be delivered to Precinct 1. Precinct 2 receives 214. Precinct 3 receives 288. Precinct 4 receives 187. The Domestic Violence Unit receives 42 masks. The Special Branch Support receives 21. The Community Policing Unit receives 72. The Hattieville Formation receives 153. And Ladyville receives 160. Kikaka Formation receives 78. The Traffic Support Unit receives 27. The Tourism Support Unit receives 78. CYDP receives 18. The CIB Support Unit receives 21. And the Region 2 Headquarters receives 18. And the Narcotics receives 45.
Receiving the masks on behalf of the department was Deputy Regional Commander of the Eastern Division, Senior Superintendent Suzette Anderson, who says that it will help in the officers carrying out enforcement duties during this time.
On behalf of the Commissioner of Police, the Belize Police Department and Eastern Police Division, I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for having provided this donation, yourself and your City Council, to the Belize Police Department, the Eastern Police Division. I am certain that the added donation of face masks is going to attribute to our best performance out there in the execution of our duties as we too fight against COVID-19 that is here currently in our nation, and I believe that it is a crisis that will be with us for quite some time. So it is very much appreciated, the contribution that you have provided to us today.
Mayor Bernard Wagner says that all the masks were made in Belize City with the help of business partners and his office.
The total cost of these masks is in the neighborhood of $9,000, right? But it is completely made in Belize City. And so that facility was able to hire, I guess, between 5 to 6 seamstresses who really put together these masks. But they are they are 3-layered type masks, and it gives you the capability to be able, as an officer, when you are out there on the job, to be able to in the middle layer, put that a napkin, if you want to just put a napkin to filter even further and be able to change that. Each officer, based on our projections, will get like 3 masks out of the batches that we did.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Earlier, you heard the San Ignacio mayor saying he was cutting down expenditures by reducing staff due to the financial crunch. At City Hall, except for sanitation workers, staff was sent home with half salary. Even as things begin to pick up at the council, Mayor Wagner says that they're still operating with a limited amount of staff and that a number of employees remain on reduced salaries.
In respect to the staff, we are looking at how our cash flow is, and certainly if our cash flow is at a point where we could go back to full salary for this 15th of May, we want to do that. Our staff has made great sacrifice. Foregoing half of your pay, you know, no joke, right? So For me, I haven't received a salary from the last month, the last payday in March. That was it. The entire April, I have not received any kind of stipend, but I can live with it. I worry more, and I believe our council worries more about ensuring that our staff alleviate some of their financial obligations as well. But certainly, May the 15th, we are looking at it on a day-to-day basis. I get reports on a day-to-day basis to see cash flow coming in. And if we can make the full payment, we will make the full payment. Not all our staff are back as yet. We want to be very cautious in our approach, and we want to do it in a phased approach. So we're still following the health guidelines. We're still putting in place the necessary safety procedures.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you how the traffic department is dealing with the increased movement of people.
As stay-at-home orders will gradually loosen across
report with a global perspective.
The Belize Police Department has mounted checkpoints at various heavily trafficked points to monitor the movement of people across the country. Since the ease of restrictions last week, there has been an increase in traffic as people return to work and businesses reopened. The main thoroughfares in the city are experiencing an explosion. And so today we asked Councillor Alan Pollard, responsible for traffic, about the department's role in the situation at hand.
You have the police department out there. They are doing most of the enforcement. Our job out there right now is basically monitoring, and I've stressed that to the managers and supervisors to have a little hands-off approach in terms of enforcement. So you're not seeing much ticketing at this time because we understand that people they're out, they're getting their groceries. Some people are essential workers, and the primary fact is that people really don't have it right now. I mean, if you give a ticket right now, chances are they can't pay. So our job right now in terms of enforcement for traffic is just simply monitoring, making sure that we don't have the reckless approach to driving right now.
For almost 6 weeks, Belize District residents had to carry out online transactions for their traffic needs, from insurance to the inspection and licensing of motor vehicles, and even the renewal of driver's license. These had to be conducted online. While the virtual service was available during the COVID-19 crisis, many did not update their documents. Well, since the latter part of last week, the traffic department on Youth for the Future Drive has reopened, and there have been snaking lines outside the office. Councillor Pollard told the media that full services are now being offered.
I know a lot of people were actually pleading to the council to, get certain stuff done. Before this, we had the services online for renewals and for the actual vehicle registrations. We had a banking system in place where people could have deposited to the banks and still have their license renewed. Unfortunately, we found that a lot of people couldn't do this for whatever reason, so they were asking to come in and physically do it. This was after the AG expressed that we could have opened. So since then we have taken the precaution, the measures in place, social distancing. Everyone in traffic has to wear a mask. So we had seen a spike in that starting Thursday because of the usual end-of-month rush, and most of these people we know are essential workers who are out there still working, still driving, so they need their driver's license, they need their vehicle registrations, etc. But full services right now is open for traffic department.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, stay home, stay safe. Good night.